This is Garrett Fry, the 3D digital matte painting sequence lead for the Cemetery sequence, and we're taking a look at shot 1855. So let's go ahead and play that. So you can see right throughout this shot, there's going to be quite a bit of motion blur on these foreground elements here. But we're kind of orbiting or panning across this kind of handheld move on these gravestones. And so there's this big open space right here in the middle that we're looking at, that we're focusing on, that we're orbiting. And so the idea here is that you are placing in the hero gravestone. So this is the purpose of the shot. Right now it's a bit bare and doesn't have a lot of meaning to this camera move. You're going to be creating meaning for this camera move by placing something right here that we're going to be kind of orbiting around. And it has something to do with the story narrative, of course. So you can place something into this space here, or you can kind of take over this spot right here and put something new into that spot. But whatever you're adding into these different areas, you are going to need to create a new shadow for that gravestone. And it needs to match in order to get your integration looking really nicely. And so this ground is not super level, and so you're going to have to go through a process of making sure that your ground patches are really sticking to the ground in your 3D environment within Nuke. Also, in addition to this kind of hero central element here, we have a bunch of other places that we need to put gravestones throughout, if that's really close or moving far back. And up here on this ridge, you have areas through here, and of course things that are really close to the camera that can zip off a frame really quickly, which is kind of a cool look. And so of course the direction that we've been given for this is to fill up this graveyard with a bunch of gravestones, which they weren't actually able to do when they were filming because it's a historical site. So in post, the director says, fill it up. That's what we want for the story. So that's what we would be doing. And so the the gravestones that you're going to be adding here need to be projected on geometry, if that be 2D cards. And I would say probably anything from this line for sure could be cards. When you're getting up into this area and definitely up into this area and throughout here, you are going to need to project onto something more complex than just a card. And the complexity of that card depends a lot on this camera move. So you have to do some tests, see how much parallax is happening throughout the shot. So do tests, and you'll have to figure out, because this is a moving shot, do you set it up at the head of the shot, at the end of the shot? How many projections? What gravestones go with which projection? Do you do a patch camera into a main projection? And so there's a lot of setup that you need to do before you can actually get to the painting of this shot. So it's a really, really cool shot. It's a bit more difficult because it's moving, and you're gonna need to put more time into it. But it's really quite a beautiful shot to be able to work on. Before starting out on the shot, it's really important to familiarize yourself with the extensive photo reference in the library. It is worthwhile to do quick matte painting concepts so you can start to understand what kind of photography works for what particular situation. Also, make sure you're utilizing the asset library, especially for those shots that require continuity between environments. These assets can be a huge help, and remember that every asset has high resolution photography, so if the asset is not high enough resolution when rendered, you can overlay it with photography.